Okay, welcome to this video then on comparing the power and conflict poetry for your GCSE exam. Don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell. There'll be a video for every single poem in the power and conflict collection to help you get through the exams later this year. We know this is a tricky question. There are 15 poems and only one of them is going to come up in the exam, which means we need to know the other poems quite well, perhaps even know some quotes from those poems in order to be able to compare them effectively. This video will give you my top 3 quotes and a grade 5+ answer as well. So an example question might be this: explore how the poets of Ozymandias, never know how to say that, Ozymandias, don't know, and one other poem from the Power and Conflict collection present ideas about power. The steps are the same. Step 1 is to annotate this poem, any lines that demonstrate power. Step 2 is to start writing a what, how, why link structure about this poem. No point stressing about the other one just yet. Step 3, once we've got that paragraph, is where we'll decide which poem we're going to compare to and follow through on that what, how, why link structure. My top 3 quotes then: number 1 is this: half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command. In this then we've got the adjective shattered. It tells us that the statue is broken. It also sounds aggressive, perhaps it was destroyed. We've got adjectives to describe how the statue was actually sculpted as well. We've got frown, wrinkled lip, sneer, which clearly shows how the sculptor himself viewed Ozymandias and the reactions of the people in general as well. He clearly wasn't liked, perhaps even hated. We've also got the alliteration of cold command, which highlights the phrase to us, showing us how dictatorial and cold-hearted he was. My second quote is this one: my name is Ozymandias, king of kings, look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Translation of this is: if anyone wishes to know how great I am and the place where kings like me lie, let him surpass any of my works. We get the hyperbole in this quote. It communicates to us his self-appreciation. We've got a hubristic nature. We've got the repetition of king as well. He's not just a king, but he perceives himself to be the best of all of the kings. We've also got the imperative sentence. Perhaps Ozymandias anticipated a long-lasting legacy. This is ironic because actually the legacy doesn't last at all. My final quote then is this one: nothing besides remains, round the decay of the colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. In this one we've got the lexical set of words that relate to death and rotting, words like remains and decay, which suggests that he was left and forgotten a long time ago. It's been a long time. We've got the connotations of decay, which point to decomposition as well. The alliteration of boundless and bare reinforces the idea that Ozymandias is not seen and has no lasting impact on anybody despite his best intentions. We've also got here reinforced throughout the final line, where the sands stretch far away. That's really important. The fact that the sands stretch far away, nobody goes near this place anymore. No one ever sees the statue. His legacy cannot live on. How would that look as a paragraph then? Let's have a look at this one, which would get us a grade 5 or higher. The what part of this: Percy B. Shelley presents a tyrannical leader who wields absolute power in his poem Ozymandias. How? This is clearly evident at the end of the poem when we learn that Ozymandias' corrupt power was futile. His legacy has failed to live on and he's soon forgotten. Nothing beside remains, round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. Shelley combines powerful adjectives, alliteration, and a lexical set of words relating to death and rotting in order to exemplify Ozymandias' failed legacy. The why part's where we get the marks for grade 5s and higher. Shelley uses the words decay and remains to illustrate the end of Ozymandias' power. These words have got connotations of decomposition, as though he and his power and control were left for dead a long time ago. We can further see how forgotten his power is through the alliteration in lone and level sands stretch far away, which suggests that the area is no longer inhabited. Nobody sees the statue. Ozymandias can no longer wield his power. Negative word choices also allow us to glimpse into how people viewed Ozymandias. He's described as colossal. This, combined with words such as wreck, bare and lone, reinforces tyrannical power, but also the negative impact that he had. The link then is to context, which is really important. Ozymandias was the name the Greeks gave to the real dictator and pharaoh Ramesses II, who used slave labour to build monuments. The poem can be read as a criticism of those who use power hubristically. So the final bit then is to decide which poem to compare this to. The focus was on power. We could choose London, we could choose extract from the Prelude, exposure, remains, war photographer. The decision is yours, but choose one that you've got some quotes for, where you've already built some arguments, and based on that paragraph you should have a really good idea of how you might compare that now. Let's have a look at a very simple grade 5 or higher paragraph that would compare another poem. In this case, I've chosen London. So, the what? William Blake also presents ideas about power in his poem London. Similarly to Ozymandias, the power exerted in London also has a negative impact. There's my comparison. How? This is clearly evident when Blake wanders through each chartered street near where the chartered Thames does flow. The repetition of chartered illustrates how controlled the streets and rivers are. The why part, Blake suggests that freedom has been taken away, perhaps in a similar way to how the freedom of the people controlled by Ozymandias was taken. Blake also identifies the misery of the people and identifies in their faces marks of weakness, marks of woe. Again, his use of repetition highlights the misery and suffering of the people as a result of the power being inflicted upon them. Then that link to context to show the examiner that we understand. William Blake hated how London had changed so rapidly and wanted those in power to take responsibility. His poem London puts across his view of his beloved city after the Industrial Revolution. So that there would give us a grade 5 or higher. There'll be a video for every single poem, so make sure you hit subscribe and click the bell as well. You can find loads of revision daily stuff on my Instagram page, Mr Crawford ENG, and you can head to my website as well, mrcrawfordenglish.com/revision. Laters.